morning, everybody. I'm Bill McCULLOUGH. I own McCULLOUGH's Moving and More. We are Salem's premier senior moving company, but we are also a full-service registered moving company with the state of Oregon. Just briefly, I'm going to talk a little bit about moving regulations, and then maybe explain a little bit why I am a member of this group. So most people are unaware that moving companies are probably the second most regulated industry for transportation of goods underneath airlines. This means that no matter where you're moving, your state should have some regulatory agencies that govern how much we charge, where we can provide service, and other rules, such as what we can and cannot legally move in our trucks. One of the things here in the state of Oregon, I should have brought more, but you're welcome to look. This is the state standard bulletin. The state requires every moving company to provide you, the customer, with a copy of this. If they do not, let ODOT know, Oregon Department of Transportation, because on the back of this, right at the bottom there, is the name, address, and contacts for the Department of Transportation's Commerce Division, which manages all forms of transportation in the state of Oregon. Just a little side note, if your industry or you know somebody that is providing a service that is wheels on the road, that means they are doing delivery, they are doing junk hauling, garbage removal, moving, they should be registered with the state of Oregon. If they're not registered as a moving company, they should be at least registered as a transportation company, which is a whole other set of regulations, not as serious as household good moving. Next thing I'm going to briefly talk about is some things to expect when you're moving. I recommend, whenever you call a mover, request they show up to do a survey. Under state regulation, we are not required to offer to come and do an in-house survey. However, if you, the customer, request that we show up physically to provide the survey, yes, then we are required to show up by law. And it's a substantial fine if we fail to follow up with that fact. The other thing they're going to do, the state does, as I said before, it regulates all of our rates and what we can and cannot provide as a moving company. Now, as stated before, we are McCULLOUGH's Moving and More. So we provide more than just moving services. We do delivery services, we do removal services, we do furniture assembly, disassembly, and primarily we focus on seniors, especially those moving into transitional care. We have a strong specialty with moving memory care and high needs individuals, mostly their furniture. We still don't have a license to actually provide transportation. We leave that to the other transport services. Let me see, what am I forgetting here? On the table, I've provided some flyers. Again, this is a brief description. Kind of summarizes a lot that's in the bulletin. Some facts that you'll find in the bulletin that people are unaware of is that when dealing with the insurance company, there are generally two forms of insurance. There's our basic coverage insurance, which covers 60 cents per pound. It is no cost to you. It just means if we drop it and break it, we got to pay whatever the weight value is on it. The other is called a declared value, in which this case you do have to pay for extra insurance on this, and it pays differently. The current rate is you make a declaration of how much you believe or can prove that your property is that's on the truck. So you give a base value of everything on the truck. So be careful, don't get greedy about that. That gets real expensive real quick, and if you have to provide proof at the other end, it can be a problem. But that pays closer to what maybe the original market value was of the property. Now, like my moving company, we don't like to damage things, you know, and we always try and work with our customers to resolve issues. What am I thinking? All moving companies have to provide a physical bill of lading. This bill of lading should give the start and stop locations. It should give contacts, who we're supposed to contact in the field. It gives columns for what rates we're charging, what materials we need to charge for. It also requires a couple of signatures. First signature will be your insurance declaration, how much, you know, which insurance you'd like to use. The second is a confirmation that we have provided you with the general information bulletin. And then the final signature, of course, is at the end of the day. You sign saying everything has showed up just fine. Let's see, what other thoughts can we talk about moving? Our goal as a moving customer, because we specialize in seniors, is to try and reduce some of the stress of moving. And for those who have had elderly family, elderly parents that have had to move into care services, that can be even more challenging to deal with that stress. And so our resolve, of course, is to try and make that as smooth as possible. We do this through several factors. First of all, working with the individual or with the family members to make sure everything is well organized and ready to go. We work with the communities that they're moving into. I'm very familiar with several contacts, the executive directors and their marketing managers, which helps. By knowing them, then we can call ahead and make other special arrangements as needed, especially when dealing with memory care, which are usually secure locked facilities. So we have to make sure that's well timed. Moving in general too, we don't mind if you, the customer, do the packing. I will always come out, however, and make strong suggestions about how to pack your boxes. This makes things go just a little bit faster on moving day if everything's already packed. However, you do need to keep in mind that moving companies are not liable for the contents of the box unless we drop the box. So if you put grandma's fine china in there and you don't wrap it and pack the box tight and it shifts inside the box and breaks during the move, we're actually not liable for that. However, if one of my guys drops the box off the top of the hand truck, now I'm liable for that. A few items that we're not liable for are your IKEA and particle board furniture. Especially the particle board furniture, it does not transport well. So there are limits to our liabilities on that if it becomes damaged, because if you have particle board furniture, you know, just a little shift across the floor and that bottom corner chips and breaks away. Or if it gets wet and saturated, you know, it starts to fall apart. So most moving companies are limited to, I think it's like a $75 cap for damages on particle board furniture. Always make sure your moving companies are wrapping anything special, hardwoods, valuables. That reminds me too, the other thing is encouraged that if you have valuables when you're moving, it's always up to you to transport them yourself. You know, so your fine jewelry and things like that, money, credit cards, specialty paperwork, it's always recommended that you transport that yourself. Moving companies are also not allowed to move anything that's flammable or explosive. We're not supposed to move firearms, things like that. So again, those require you to find another way to transport. Even though we do move gun safes, you want to move those empty. So, as Ben knows, you got to transport the firearms yourself.
I do?
Yeah, that nitro that was in the bottom of the gun safe, yeah, let's not leave that on the truck, please.
Really?
Life plants, groceries, so out of the refrigerator, again, these are non-liabilities for moving companies. You know, if I do put live plants on the truck, or I do put your refrigerator stuff in a cooler on the truck, we're actually not liable if something goes wrong. Because, you know, if you've ever been in the back of a box truck, it's 80 degrees outside, it's about 120 in the back of that box truck. Your live plants are not going to do well, and the ice in the ice chest is going to melt really fast. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me. Any questions?
Why do you remember the screw? You forgot to...
We'll get to that, Ben. I'm not done. Go ahead. These are moving questions.
How far do you go? Do you go state to state or just state?
So me personally, and it's always important to check this. Thank you. That's a great question. I am intrastate only. I can only provide service within the state of Oregon, and I am restricted by my authorization with the state. I only service Corvallis to Portland because I'm centralized here in Salem, and I'm a small company. It's myself, my son, and a couple other guys. So to have to drive all the way down to Klamath Falls or out to Enterprise, it's not going to work very well. So make sure when you're dealing with a moving company, make sure they are registered with the state, that they have a state authorized tariff. Now don't get that confused with the taxes imposed on imports. What a tariff means is the rules, regulations, rates that we can charge. All moving companies are required to keep a copy of their authorized tariff in their office. You are welcome to go and see. You can go in and demand to see that tariff. And yes, it is a legalese nightmare. One last thing, there are two general forms of move. There is local moves and long distance moves. Local move is anything under 50 miles. That means that the moving company is supposed to be charging you by the hour, based on the number of guys and the number of trucks that's out there. Anything over 50 miles is what's called a weighted move, and that's when we have to take the truck, weigh the truck, and then weigh your furniture, and it's based calculation out. And that's the ones that people always go, well, they charged me 25 bucks to pack a box. That's because we're not billing by the hour, and so the regulations have a rate system that says if we're charging by the rate and we have to pack the boxes, then there's a specific charge per box of the price of the box, the price to pack the box, and the price to unpack the box if we're doing the unpack at the other end. You know, people will tell you these nightmares all the time about they got charged for each individual little tiny thing. You know, under those circumstances, yeah, the rates can run up pretty quickly over 50 miles because we're going to be looking, okay, how many flights of stairs do we have to carry? Everything. How easy is the access? How many boxes do we have to pack and unpack? And other materials. Do I have to hire a third party because you have a house that's up a narrow driveway and I can't get my truck back there and I have to hire somebody with small trucks to shuttle everything back and forth, those kind of issues. And you're welcome to call me, ask about any moving questions, or call ODOT directly. They're always happy to answer. I give kudos to them. It took me 6 months to get my license, and I was on the phone almost every day with their licensing person. Finally, just a real quick summary. Why are we members of Salem-Keizer Business Alliance? And this is it right here. The fact that we can sit down, talk face-to-face over a pleasant meal, get to know each other as businessmen, women, and share each other's businesses with the community. You know, I have a very large network now because I'm associated with Ben and the Salem-Keizer Business Network, which is part of Retirement Connections, and I regularly go to different chambers, even though I'm not a member of most of the city chambers. They're too costly for my small pockets. So I encourage everybody to be members. Members do receive other benefits than just breakfast. Most of the members offer some kind of a discount to fellow members. For us, you get new members get a $100 credit towards any non-move. So like I said, we do junk removal, deliveries, assembly, things like that. And probably I still need to post that, but it's something I automatically do.
So quick question, how many people have actually done business with Bill
Yeah.
out of this group?
Well, the rest of them are missing. I don't know what's...
That's what I'm thinking.
I would say that of the members that, so we became members in 2023. Of the members that are regulars here, I probably have done some form of business with about half. Whether it's been they've been working with me, or I've been working with folks like Ashley. Ben and I both work with Ashley. I'm regularly talking with Joey about things. Worked with Pops here, Randy, who else is here? Helen, of course. So I encourage people to join, or like Ben says, if you don't want to pay for the membership, then at least pay for breakfast.
That's it.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, give me a call if you have any questions.